Y'all got us all the way up. We met that dude Duke the jeweler the night before. We was down. The next day, dude followed us to the concert. When we left out the concert, we under the garage. Dude went to his car by himself and walked down to the parking lot. That's when somebody tried to kill him.
He's the one that's tied to the dude that makes the loaded dice. Right? Check the play out. All entertainers, when you go to Houston, stay away from Jay Prince Jr. The whole play going on. Here go the play right here. The play is a loaded dice.
Blood red dice, a velvet table, and phony grins everywhere. However, the laughing had a dangerous undertone. The jeweler Duke did not just take a chance. It was all around him. He was no questionable entrepreneur. He was a self-made, well-liked, and prosperous Chicago icon. However, that was irrelevant. Someone had already made up their mind, and there were plenty of sharks in that room. It wasn't a random hit, people claim. No back alley, no ski mask, no escape vehicle. When Duke exited Boosie's dice game, everyone was grinning. The kind that conceals crafty aim. They were dapping him up at one point. At that point, they were speaking honestly. These indicators are currently being closely monitored by the federal government. Do you know who is creating problems? 50 Cent shared mysterious letters, bills, and overt hints that suggested this might have been a much larger conspiracy than initially believed. This is where things become fascinating, though. Duke was the life of the party at a mob ties game that Jay personally sponsored. In a different dice game 2 weeks prior to Takeoff's catastrophe, Prince Jr., the entire room changes abruptly when the wrong guy begins to win. Eyes change, smiles vanish. Boosie, Jay Prince Jr., Lil Cam, and the rest of the circle are all being investigated. What began as hearsay on the street is now being investigated properly. Was it simply bad luck then? Or had the table been set up before Duke had taken a seat? Duke wasn't just trying to win over new rappers by giving them diamond necklaces. He was creating one-of-a-kind sculptures for well-known industry figures. He had $1 million duffel bag full of cold heat, a brand, and a reputation. He had no intention of sightseeing when he landed in Houston. According to reports, Boosie personally contacted him to discuss business. Something unique or something exclusive. Duke drew up all in after that. However, he was unaware that this might be his last lap of the game. Let's examine what actually transpired at the dice table in more detail. It wasn't your typical dice game. According to publicly released audio connected to WAC 100 Yes, direct street-level intelligence, it was said to be decorated to look like a party. Now, insiders discuss Jay's situation. Prince Jr. has a loaded dice ring. Frequently, the same names are mentioned: Wolf, Big Capri, and Little Cam. A close-knit group rotates the dice as if it were a secret, right? Lest someone makes a mistake, the chances are always against you. And that's just what happened. Wack asserts Duke managed to catch the switch. He began to amass substantial sums of money after rolling past the decoys. Hundreds at first, then thousands, and so forth. However, when you defeat a system that was not intended for outsiders to overcome, its creators become anxious. What follows? The atmosphere changes. Let's discuss how this evening's luxury devolved into mayhem.
I stayed so even when I got my chain stuck. Go through hard time, and you know that was bad ass. Can't blame us, we not speaking, that was bad ass. Yeah.
Insiders claim that on dice evenings, Junior keeps 30% of the whole pot. It wasn't just a lucky streak. Therefore, as Duke began to clean up and pile wins, someone was fiddling with someone's wallet. And Duke's boisterous, self-assured, iced out, and unrepentant behavior that evening. He was throwing money like it. Was nothing pouring in jewels and recording every moment for the grams? However, suddenly things began becoming strange. A particular scene in that night's footage sticks out if you slow it down. Boosie softly blows the whistle. Just enough to attract notice, nothing more. His nephew immediately turns to confront Duke. Then, as if sending a nonverbal message, a man in a red sweater taps the nephew's arm casually. The whole room feels different after that. Duke is still vivacious. He's throwing dice, laughing and making jokes. But the air seems to have thickened. The smiles were different. The room became chilly. The night takes a gloomy, irrevocable turn a few minutes later. This was more than a gut instinct. Everything was communicated through body language. Upon entering a room occupied by individuals who have already made decisions behind closed doors, your bones will tell you. The true question is this. Why would affluent Boosie permit someone wearing gems worth over $1 million to participate in a dice game? When there was no apparent security and the energy was unpredictable. And why didn't Jay, who was clearly carrying that much weight and out of town? Did Prince Jr. have any plans to stay safe? The total is not equal. Let's revisit the moment Duke left the dice game. Duke was traveling alone across a dim Houston parking lot without any security, crew, or driver after spending hours in a room filled with diamonds and millions in cash. If you think something is odd, it is. At this point, though, the situation shifts from dubious to downright unsettling. A few minutes later, chaos breaks out. Duke is being ambushed. However, what follows fundamentally changes the plot. Most of the time when someone is being targeted, the first things to vanish in such a situation are cash and jewels. Not this time, though. All the pieces were still on Duke when he was discovered. No one touched it. Neither the designer nor the jewels. What sort of theft, then, leaves 7 jewelry figurines unaccounted for? Duke was still wearing the same clothes that he had exposed during Boosie's performance only hours before.
He was walking to his car, some dude tried to rob him. Some dude tried to rob him. Some dudes that tried to rob me and walked off by himself, bro. I had just met dude yesterday. Been trying to rob dude must ain't get up. Just met dude.
The true eye-opener, though, was the Louis Vuitton duffel bag that contained his unpublished original jewelry ideas. It vanished from sight and then suddenly reappeared inside Boosie's house. Yes, according to the Houston Police Department. Regardless of whether Duke gave the bag to Boosie for protection during the dice game, or if it arrived in another manner, it is undeniable that the bag was returned. Duke didn't. Additionally, in a shaky Instagram live from a private jet, Boosie stated that he rarely, even though Duke said Duke just went away. But that makes no one happy. Hold on a second. Didn't Boosie imply that Duke would compose a special piece for him despite his assertions that he didn't know Duke well? You invite a man to play a secret dice game, watch him flash 1 million baubles, and then let him walk alone in the dark to his car? That story doesn't make sense. Additionally, it becomes even more careless. The complete tone of Boosie's Instagram. Live. He appeared pale, nervous, uneasy, apprehensive, and obviously unprepared for the questions being asked. In addition, the drama didn't end the way you would have expected. Bowie was already being watched by the feds for separate legal matters. They removed Duke's case from the queue and began a separate federal investigation. This implies that there will be no more delays, avoidance of charges, just a laser-like focus on the specifics of what was happening that night. What then did they do? What do they always do? Watch for the last signal from the phone. In Boosie's recording studio, Duke's phone made its final ping sound. And someone bravely carried Duke's phone from that circle, unless it had legs and traveled. They're on its own. No attempt to remove it, no harm. After that, it simply went dark, manually switched off. The feds locked in at that point, then searched through Duke's rented car. Guess who appeared when fingerprints were recovered by forensics? Boosie's nephew, Boosie's relatives, comparable names. The identical circle. Then one of the witnesses appeared. There is a smoker outside the building. Claimed to have witnessed Duke making his way to his car by himself. Everything seemed calm and normal until Boo's nephew approached from the side, clearly waiting in the cut. According to the witness, Duke was uneasy and made an effort to defend himself, tempted to push back and swing first.
He was in a garage. He must have walked outside to the parking lot. He was in a garage. We heard the but it's like they was far away in the parking lot. Must have went to his car or something. Dude was finna make a piece for him too. Hey.
However, the subsequent incidents did not appear to be robberies. There was no need to grab chains or scramble for luggage. The Louis Vuitton bag was kept in good condition and the $1 million jewelry was still there. It had nothing to do with money. The issue here was control, and their subsequent actions as if they didn't even mind who was observing. Not only is that careless, that's brave. Do you think anyone captured everything? 50 Cent. He has been promoting connecting dots, subliminal messages, and receipts. Because when tourists arrive in Houston, they usually show the same degree of caution, remember to check in, isn't documented or included in contracts. But trust is genuine. Influencers, artists, and professional athletes are all aware of the unwritten law. It is your responsibility to check in with J. Prince Jr., who is worth listening to if you're in Houston, at the circle of mob tie. By failing to check in, you are putting yourself at unwanted risk. However, things start to go a little strange at this point. What would happen if the people you are checking in with were the ones who need to protect you? We will call it that. That dice game was hosted by J. Prince Jr. Duke walked into the same room with the same zeal and warmth. In addition. Only 2 weeks later, Jay, the game where Takeoff's tragedy occurred, was hosted by Prince Jr. at that point. The entire check-in culture began to smell more like a setup than a precaution. Why didn't two well-known individuals leave Jay? What if Prince Jr. really runs the city as he claims to? You had to listen to Whack 100. He also didn't hold back. Called it a complete fraud arrangement. When the mood quickly changes during private dice games, these entertainers are enticed in, made to feel comfortable, and then surrounded. The industry is now starting to take notice. Labels are discreetly canceling shows in Houston. Some artists' visits are being completely canceled. It feels radioactive and deadly now. 50 Cent, meanwhile, is out there resharing videos, making mysterious claims, and refusing to keep quiet. Captions that neither reveal nor conceal identities. It's gone too far, according to some. Some people claim that he is the only one with the courage to speak what everyone else is muttering. Because it's no longer only about dice games. It concerns the individuals who are actually making decisions behind closed doors.
Whack 100 couldn't stay silent.
The entertainer invites him in, act like you cover for him, hanging out, everything is cool. Let's go here, let's go there, let's go here, let's go there. He introduces the dice game. He got 3 mothers, right, who rotate the dice. Now these dice is loaded. tell me it's a Wolf, Big Caprice, and watch this, and Little Cam are the loaded dice rotators, right? He said, why? There was a situation that occurred that a certain jeweler drowned and got past the dice on accident and was hitting all them for a couple hundred. They got irritated about that. I ain't gonna go too far into that story because, right, boom. The only way they could get their money back was money back. He said, but Lil Cam, Wolf, and Big Caprice are the three designated to say I'm up, I got the next, and they pass the dice to each other, but they loaded, but they shoot.
According to sources, Bowie is on the decline. There are others circling besides the feds. They are getting closer. Duke's case dismissed. Boosie's previous gun charges, so now they are focused on that one night, the one where everything went wrong. They've already begun to go deeper. They are tracking his son's digital footprint, wealth, and places of residence. However, the most ridiculous aspect is that the sound may originate from his own circle. Rumor has it that Boosie ran back inside that night looking concerned and clearly trying to hide something, according to someone who was told by his girlfriend. However, he continues to act as though he is ignorant. Like a script, he repeats the same words over and over. No one is buying it. The question is loud now. Who will Boosie take with him if he goes down? Boosie is not a lonely person. The name of his nephew is mentioned, as well as his cousin. Jay Prince Jr., who is already well known because of the Takeoff event, is also the person he is currently seeing. Every thread is pointing back to that dice table as the web begins to unravel. It becomes even more twisted just when you believe it can't get any more twisted. Twice finesse. The artist Mob Ties, once proudly supported, is no longer one of their fans. He would call out Jay in each discussion. Prince Jr. these days, he seldom ever addresses the man by name. Silence isn't that. That's how far away it is. Can you guess where it all is said to have started? Female. Not just any woman, though. Finesse's baby mother. The gossip. She had him placed back on probation with her mother, phoned the cops, and lined him up. Transgression, Finesse then separated from the crowd. There are no upcoming performances. The backstage hanging is finished. Only gloom and silence. And who did the scheming to quickly intervene and free Finesse? Jay Prince Sr. himself. Behind the scenes, quiet calls were placed. 2 weeks later, Finesse was walking freely again. However, rather than lying, Finesse immediately returned to the same woman. Perhaps out of low self-esteem or out of respect for the man who had purportedly had him locked up in the first place. The senior lost it at that point and vented on Twitter, "I told the homie to stay the fuck away from that woman if he cares about his life. But he didn't want to listen even after I stepped in to get him out," he boasted, flaunting his enormous chest. There is no reason for you to believe that these women are constantly attempting to do good.
Jeweler. I gotta do my research, see what jeweler might have been down there shooting dice. But nevertheless, to all the entertainers, you know, Dukes of Hazzard was one of my favorite shows. Like, I don't know if y'all watched it. I was thinking about Daisy Duke for a reason. I don't know why I said that. You know, one might go with it, may not go with it, but I don't know. The math is math and let it math. But entertainers, beware. Oh, with Jay Prince Jr., when he talked about let's go shoot some dice. Because the loaded dice crew is 3 Cam, Wolf, Big Caprice. We know Lil Cam in there because I believe somehow, some way, he's caught up in the dice situation. Rest in peace, Takeoff. I don't know what's going on. But what I do know is this. Jay Prince Jr. got a whole thing, and when y'all come into town, hold on, bro. Didn't they say Fifth Ward earlier that day shooting dice?
Yep, that's a fact. That word been out, Wet. That word been out. We been had that memo.
And then been getting hit all day and during that game, they were like that into dice. That's what this nigga Jay Prince Jr., boy, these niggas got all kind of shit going on down there. He said the jeweler nigga got past the dice. He didn't even know the motherfuckers was loaded. He just think he hit. These niggas is mad as a motherfucker. They like, nigga, how you pass this nigga the loaded dice? Oh no.
Things became even more chaotic right after that post. Just as many people were starting to recover, a panicked murmur began to resonate across the streets. There have been rumors that Jay Prince Jr. might have cheated on Finesse's girl and possibly gotten her pregnant. Is it verified, the number? However, it speaks volumes that people believe it and that Finesse hasn't refuted it in the slightest. While some fans have dismissed it as a rumor, others are beginning to pay attention. A trend, Jay and Takeoff's family. They are allegedly at odds with Prince Jr. tension in silence with Boosie. Finesse is obviously placing himself at a distance and going through it in public for the second time. Every bridge surrounding mob ties seems to be gradually burning down, one by one. Then comes the terrifying part. When silence, control, and loyalty are your brand's guiding principles, the code can be cracked by a single individual. After one witness, one artist, and one outraged friend, the empire is no longer untouchable. It's breaking. The real question is, who will break first today? Will Boosie ultimately come clean for his own safety? Will the secret that Finesse has been keeping for the last 2 years be revealed? Would 50 Cent instead continue to exert pressure till Jay Prince Jr. violates the laws and accomplishes the unimaginable, silent to protect his reputation? For without a doubt, the slide has already started. Additionally, the whispers are becoming knocks on locked doors. Everything is now being watched by federal officials. Boosie's whole estate, including his Georgia property and Baton Rouge residence, is under investigation. Every dollar in transaction is being monitored. This isn't no longer merely a query. It's monitoring the situation. Also, don't misunderstand, goes beyond simply being inebriated. The name of Jay Prince Jr. is also involved. The game of music responds quickly. Artists are avoiding each other. Deals are being quietly pulled. By labels, the customs around mob relationships are changing. This isn't typical rap drama. Everything seems to be collapsing right now. The wildest section follows. According to reports, surveillance footage, phone cameras, and other evidence may help Duke discover the truth about what actually transpired that evening. If a single individual releases the footage to the public or sells it to TMZ or the authorities, that's it. Checkmate. Additionally, nobody is taking